Hi everyone, Alex here. So in today's video I'm going to be talking about anti-spins, how they differ from extensions and in-spins. Make sure you stick around to the end of the video because I'll also be showing the martial application with the Ken, Jo and sabre. Okay, let's get into it. So to properly understand what an anti-spin is, we first need to have a look at what an extension and in-spin is. If I extend this ball out, you can see my arm and the chain and ball are all in line and they're all rotating the same direction. So in relation to me, they're all going anti-clockwise. If I was to do an in-spin, for example like this or at the sides, you can see that the ball is actually spinning the same direction, but it's doing more rotations than it would if it was on an extension. So that will be an extension, this will just be an in-spin. Like I say, it doesn't matter which point it's spinning, it could just be one spin, for example at the top of my head, or it could be at the sides, or it could be at the bottom. The main thing is that it's actually spinning the same direction in which my arm is spinning. Now where that changes, if we were for example doing something like this, where I'm spinning inwards, if I change the direction of where my hand's going, you can see the spin of the ball remains the same in terms of that it's still spinning in that anti-clockwise direction, whereas my arm in relation to me is now going clockwise. Now with the club I can do the same thing. My arm is moving clockwise and the club is moving anti-clockwise. With the club obviously you can slow it down. Obviously with the ball and chain you can't hold it out horizontally. But here you can have a look, the end of it is actually remaining on the horizontal plane and the bit where I'm grabbing is actually moving around in a circular motion. So then when you put the two together, it looks something like that. Now the same could be done on a vertical plane. Now with the staff you're essentially combining those two movements together. One end is working on the horizontal plane, which is this end, and the other end is working on the vertical plane. So as this goes out to the side, this is going up, and this end is going across on the horizontal plane. The same movement could be also done taking this side behind the head. So for example, instead of taking it in front, I could take it behind. Again, that movement would look something like that. But you can see all the principles that I've talked about before, weightlessness and isolations, they all come into play here because actually an anti-spin is a type of isolation. You can see here I'm letting the momentum of the staff do the work in terms of the weight as this bounces up and down. And also, like what I mentioned with the isolations before, I'm getting behind the movement of there and it's going into this linear motion. Now I could just switch this into an anti-spin just by letting the motion continue, and it kind of forms this diamond shape pattern. Now there's so many different types of anti-spins that you can do, and an anti-spin is just a type of isolation. So how does this all fit into martial application? Well, in the previous video I talked about isolations and I mentioned the 15th Jo Suburi. Now this essentially is a type of isolation. It's part of the quadrant, the top quadrant on a anti-spin. But where else does this fit in? Well, if I talked about raising the Jo, if I raise it in this manner, I'm actually raising in a in-spin, as I mentioned earlier. This is an in-spin. So I'm raising in an in-spin way, and then when I'm cutting down, I'm just reversing the direction, so I'm actually cutting down in a way that I would call an in-spin because it's rotating the same direction in which my arm is rotating. Okay? Obviously the difference is we're just working on this one quadrant. So it's raising up on an in-spin, cutting down on an in-spin. Now if we were to change that and raise it up like this and cut down, it's now cutting, it's raising on a anti-spin, which is like that, and then it's joining up with the inspin, so it's actually creating one circle. Now it's probably easy to relate to this movement when I do it with the Ken. If we take the first Ken Suburi, that movement there, as I mentioned, we've got the inspin coming up and then the inspin coming down. If, for example, we switch to the fifth Ken Suburi, you can have a look that when it comes round into this position, we're actually using that same idea of an anti-spin to take it round. Because we're not raising it in a way where it raises up first and then cuts, we're actually taking it around to the side, and it's creating this anti-spin feeling. It's that feeling that it's creating when it goes to the side here and then behind the head and then cutting. So it's going from being horizontal to being down in line with your back, and then it's going into that in-spin motion when cutting. So again, looking at it with the sabre, if we take this movement here, it's the same thing. I'm raising it up, and this is kind of like it's going into that anti-spin motion. Again, just working on this top quadrant. As I raise it up, it's as if it's going into the anti-spin, but then it continues that circle to cut down in an in-spin motion, like we were doing an in-spin. So it comes up with an anti-spin, cuts down with an in-spin. Anyway, I hope you found this interesting and you can relate to this concept. I'll be covering anti-spins in a little bit more detail in future videos. As always, please like, share and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and leave your comments down below. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you again soon.